welcome to another episode of Uma Talks. And today I have some very special guests that I can't wait to introduce you. Tonight we are talking about redefining love relationships in today's modern society. And I have two special people with me. These are my co-hosts, actually, from a show that I do on the Meet Me app called The Great Debate. So please welcome in Pappy Black Rob and Mel Bell. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
How's everybody doing tonight?
We're doing great. Staying warm.
Staying warm. I know. We have like a ice warning, snowstorm. I don't even know what's happening anymore outside.
Yeah.
The outside is doing much worse than we are inside.
That part. Well, I know we have so many opinions about this topic that I chose because we kind of debate it like every week on Wednesday. Some form of love and relationships makes it to our great debate. So I'm so curious to find out what your thoughts are. And we do have another co-host coming in. He is running a little bit late. He has had a really busy schedule today, but we'll throw him into the mix as we can. So tonight we're talking about redefining relationships in modern society. We're going to dive into the evolving landscape of relationships and what it means to connect in today's world. From shifting social dynamics to the influence of technology and spiritual growth, we'll explore how relationships, all relationships, romantic, platonic, professional, are being redefined and what this means for your personal journey. So join me and our guests tonight as we discuss practical insights, spiritual perspectives, and empowering tools to help you navigate relationships with clarity, authenticity, and purpose. Guys, I am a TikTok live streamer and I do a ton of readings on love and relationships. It seems to be all everybody is ever thinking about or talking about. What do you guys feel about that? Do you feel in the areas you guys thrive in that this is also a big topic of conversation?
Rob.
Of course you want me to go first. Only on live streams does this come up on a regular basis. Everywhere else, this is a meat point. Because I was just telling Mel Bell earlier, I focus holistically on just enjoying life, just putting joy into my life, no matter what form that takes. It's the number one thing that I look for in everything I do. And then everything else is secondary. But for a lot of other people, it's the love and relationships and dating. So I'm thrilled to be on here because I have some very interesting perspectives on it.
I know you do, and I cannot wait to hear what they are. Mel, what about you in your day-to-day life, in your streams, and what you do? How often do you hear people talk about love and relationships?
I think it's a common thing for sure. I'm a big love bug at heart, so I'm a hype person. But I've also, with time on the stream, from the time that I started, which is a completely different me, right? And now moving forward, years forward, my growth and healing, I have different approaches on what I can be compassionate about and what I find is accurate for me, and how people view things, and just kind of creating a balance on are things really what they are, or is it from an individual standpoint? Because I can for sure say that my expectations on all aspects, even in observance of others in their relationship, are completely different from then to now, and how I approach them. And but I think ultimately, to be honest, I'm still a big love bug, but I'm more about like how do I fit in the equation as a whole, and not so much emphasis on what the other person brings to me, which surprisingly, we'll talk about it later, I feel has brought me more abundance in love because I've remained more conscious in myself.
I love that. You know, one of the reasons why I came up with this topic is because in the work that I do, owning my metaphysical wellness center, I do come across quite frequently women in their later years who are struggling to find love. So let me give you the demographic I'm speaking about specifically. These are women who've been married for a very long time, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30 years. And they left their relationship And it always seems to happen that they leave their relationship for another person. Somebody that they met on Facebook, somebody from their past who hit them up on IG, somebody that they met at a bar. And they all talk about having this instantaneous connection. And it's not like what I have with my husband. And it's so powerful. They're willing to leave their marriages for it. And then, of course, more times than not, those relationships don't pan out, right? And then they find me to deal with the heartbreak a second time, because the first heartbreak from going through the divorce, and then the second heartbreak from giving everything up for this fantasy relationship, and it didn't work out. My question to you guys is, do you think these women, this particular demographic of women, are struggling because they grew up with these fairy tales about what love is supposed to look like? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up with a lot of prince saving princesses and knight in shining armor. And do you feel like that is still prevalent in our community today?
Mel?
I'm going to say yes and no. I honestly think with everything in life, it stems on where were your patterns and connection to people in general from the beginning. And that's just my opinion and my experience. I say that because I didn't grow up in the thing of fairy tales, but yet I built up this life that it was out there. I was married for 11 years, but yet when I left, it was more of a hype for me to make a point to stand alone. But I will be honest, with that being said, the next relationship that I got in, believe it or not, didn't last as long, but it was harder to mend that broken heart than such a long relationship. I think it's a very iffy line. I think there could be some truth to that, idea of demographic, but I do feel like there's a small window where it ultimately is like, where are you as a person? Like, can you stand alone? If you're just raised to have instant gratification, because I assume that these women go into other or people in general, right, that leave relationships for another, are people that need the instant gratification of appraisal, acknowledgement, attention, sexual attention, like any of those things, because they, not in an unkind way, but they can't stand to be alone. They don't know anything. And so, or they've been so alone that that's how they kind of mask it, so to speak. I think for me, there is a little truth to that. But if you're not careful, like if you're careful, you might, and even that's dangerous. You do it through a friendly standpoint and you choose the wrong friends and circles of people that might, again, just for the instant gratification and the attention at hand. And if you're not really careful, it could be someone that you give your heart to, which has a whole bunch of consequences, whether, depending on your age, it could mean a child coming out of it, right, other things, other people getting hurt. So I don't know. I'm going to say that I can be on both ends of this because I've been on both ends of this. I've had friends that have lived in that fairy tale and yet, see, like for me particularly, really quick, I live in that fairy tale. I realize over time that I am a big hype person for people around me to have set story, and I believe it. But yet for myself, I tend to repel it. And I've still figured that out. Based on just, tapping in, but that's just where I'm at. So we'll leave it at that and I'll see what Rob has to say.
Okay. Rob, what do you have to say?
Those are all good and fine points, and I don't disagree with the large percentage of that. I'm just going to step right into the prince and villain role of all the Disney characters,
right?
Because that's what I'm here for, is to be that person. So the question is, do we feel that in that demographic, people were raised to believe in like the fairy tale? And in my friend group, me and my two closest friends, we often talk about the Disney illusion. And you don't even have to be raised up on Disney to to have that illusion. There's so much of it on TV. You got the Hallmark Channel, you got
Right.
Lifetime for Women, you got The View, you got what's The Real, all these different entertainments that geared toward you having a certain lifestyle. For me personally, I think it's just a matter of fitting your happiness into another person. I know so many people who are out here like, I can't be happy on my own. I have to actually be happy with someone else. Whether they say it directly, indirectly, or not at all, it's just displayed through their actions. I know of someone personally who basically ruined their marriage because like they needed to just be surrounded by uh, um, various amounts of different relationships, whether it be friendships or like something on the side. So for me, I look at it like you should be able to know yourself. Like the person who ruined their relationship, she didn't know herself. Like she was definitely in tears, crying because like she didn't know what to do with herself when her marriage was in shambles. Like she didn't know who to turn to. She didn't know what family to go to. So she just went to social media, which is the last place I tell people to go to when you're in that kind of frame of mind. But you know, she wanted to go and get some insights, and I was like, look, I would give you my personal opinion on it, but I'm not even saying you should take my advice. But I will say, going to social media and an open platform for a plethora of negative comments and insights is not the way to go. So for me, to answer that question, yes, I do believe that people want to be what they see around them, whether it's on TV, whether it's in social media, whether it's in personal friend groups. Like I just was talking to someone the other day where they were comparing themselves to someone else. And I was like, why? You're not that person. Why would you compare that? Like, why don't you focus completely on you? And most people don't do that. Most people don't focus on them. And the reason I know this is because when I ask people, sit down and really think about this. What in life, outside of everybody that you know, your friends, your family, your coworkers, all of that, what in life brings you personal joy? Like, if you had none of that stuff to rely on, what actually brings you personal joy? And most people can't answer that, you know, because their joy is based on what other people think of them.
So I feel like that lines up with what I believe. I believe that there's a lot of people in the wrong relationships. And I feel that because people are so keep up with the Joneses, you know, all my friends are getting married. So now I need to get married. All my friends are taking trips to Aruba. So now I need to go find somebody to take a trip to Aruba with. I feel like people are not actually investing in the relationship. And that's why we have so many breakups happening and divorces, because after they get what they think they want, they realize this is not what I wanted, right? We saw that happen in the pandemic. That was the record high of divorces after the pandemic because people had to actually live together.
You either made it or you didn't.
Right. And be with that person. And they were like, I don't like you. So, and I think that I think it's a conscious decision people are making because I mean, there's situations where it's subconscious, right? Where a man will date a woman and think that she loves him and not see that his friends are telling him she's only with you for the money. Or a woman will date a man and then, everybody could see he's kind of like living off of her and she feels this is true love or soulmate love, or he's cheating on her and, she's like, but he chooses me. Right. So we're meant to be, or a psychic, right? A psychic told me that we're meant to be and we're soulmates and stuff like that. Um, what would you say as a man? And I know this varies man to man, but generally, in general broad terms, what do you feel would men be looking at with women, right? And they say, that's somebody that's wife material. That's somebody I actually want to take my time with and get to know and put into a serious relationship. And then there's telltale signs from a man that says, nope, she is just hit it and quit it. I'm not going to stick around for this, because I think coming from a male perspective, that would be very helpful to women if they knew how men are out here like looking at them and putting certain women in certain categories and other women in others.
Okay, so from a man's perspective, what would we look for in a woman as wife material? What would we look for in a woman that's for the streets? Is that correct?
Correct. For the streets.
This is a fairly interesting question because of my background. Let's see. So this is what I tell women when I actually have like a real sit down heart to heart with them. And this actually goes with the demographic that you mentioned in the last question. I often tell people, specifically women of older age, that if I ask you how old you are, and you give me this runaround about like you're not supposed to ask women their age or like how old do you think I am, I'm gonna look around because I'm looking for your parent. I'm looking for your parents to see if they're there because I thought I was talking to an adult. I was talking to an adult. So for me, if I'm looking for someone, I'm looking for someone that's no, go ahead.
No. Finish that thought because I got to come in on it. Finish that thought.
All right. So if I'm looking for someone that's a wife material, this is what I strongly tell women, whether you're young or old or older, have confidence about yourself. Like I know it's not an easy thing to do, but have confidence about yourself. Like as a man, I will go ahead and pan across the room and be like, oh, she looks attractive, she's attractive, and she's attractive. But my saying is attraction can attract any man, but a personality will keep them. So like you got to have something going on about yourself that will intrigue the man enough to be like, I want to know more. So
I love that. Because I talk to women all the time about insecurity drives a man away. And they want a confident woman because they're tired of hearing about your insecurities and they're just going to work and you're accusing them of flirting or they're on a date with you. And because they looked at the waitress, it's like it's a situation. And I think men want, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like men want women that contribute to their peace. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
Oh, this sounds so familiar. Almost like I was having this conversation not too long ago.
Oh, do tell us.
I'm going to speak just for myself. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the men. They can, when Tix gets here, he can give his viewpoint. But for me, I love nothing but peace. And the reason why I enjoy peace more than I ever enjoyed it before is because I literally, and I kid you not, I literally had a house guest in my old home for 2 months. And when I tell you the amount of negativity that this person brought to my sanctuary, my humble home, my fortress of solitude.
Right.
It took everything in my power to go ahead and just find the serenity within myself to just deal with this person while they were there. And which is why I have a lot more patience for stuff than others. Because like if I can deal with that, I can definitely deal with anything that people throw my way. So yes, I just want peace, joy, and happiness. Like it doesn't have to be a conflict on every occasion. Like I follow a lot of people that share my mindset, and then there's people that I follow that have an opposing mindset, and then we just meet somewhere in the middle of understanding one another. One of the things I don't really like is when people try to convert other people. Like converting other people will, in my personal opinion, will always get people, that person that you're trying to convert, to run away. Because you're trying to get them to be the opposite of their core character. Like they have to choose that thing that you want them to be. And if they don't choose it, then it's not for you. It's not for you. And it's not the end of the world. People think that it's the end of the world because like this person that you've been with for 2 years chose a different path, or this person that you've been with for 10 years chose a different path. Everybody should know, everyone listening should know that as the years go by, we all grow and we evolve. Like we're never the same person. You're the same person. You're just doing routine stuff. You should always be elevating in some way, shape, or form. Now, and if you're not, then you're just going ahead and being a drone. So
I love that. So now, Melbell, I'm going to turn this question to you because we mostly have women watching my channel and commenting and stuff, but every now and then we get the occasional male that comes by. And I want to turn the question to you because maybe some of the gentlemen out there don't know. They tend to say they don't know what women are thinking and women are confusing and all over the place. But, and I know this is your opinion, you can't speak for all women all over the world, but generally, what would you say? What would you think? What's your opinion that women are looking for in a husband? And when they meet a guy and they date him, they're not putting him in the friends with benefits category. They're not even putting him in the friend zone. They're actually considering him as a possible mate. What would you say would those qualities be?
Wow, this is a little bit hard for me because I don't feel like I share the same opinion with most women. Okay. And I'm not bashing my fellow ladies, but I do feel like in my experience, and none of it's invalidated. I feel like for some women, the security and the groundness of where they are does play a role for them to feel like their person can provide, not necessarily to take care of them fully, but that they have that to lay back on. As for me and the small percentage of women that I have found that can agree with me, I think with age, experience, and time, it's more that person feels grounded. That while we're not ever going to be completely healed, for me, when I'm looking for a husband or a partner, I've realized that their groundedness and spirituality, not necessarily religious, but in that realm, is important to me because that's going to ultimately for me show where their grounding is, their lack of not having to control everything from such a stereotype machistic manner, especially because we are in modern times and there's more emphasis on like mental health awareness, our spiritual growth, our inner healing from the inside out. So for me, I feel like I think if I'm being honest, I think that even good men are out personifying something that they may not, because they don't feel comfortable being transparent for said women. And so they play that role just like a lot of women play this role of, and this is not to bash again my fellow women, but, I think it goes counterpart to like how women fix their hair a certain way, do their nails, and that whole thing, like the husband's not going to get that every day, right? So for me, I think ultimately, yes, I want you to feel secured. I guess if I can maybe chime in that nobody wants to say out loud, is that I want somebody that feels grounded within themselves and confident and is comfortable with leading us, if that makes sense. I can stand alone, but do I want to find someone that I feel safe to be soft with, if that makes sense? Like, I know that I can be very assertive and very, in charge attitude. And that alone has taken me so much. And I guess like reading the room. So being very emotionally and socially conscious for me is very important because that person's going to know how to read the room. And then the other things, there has to be some kind of like ambition. It's not so much that they can provide for me financially, but that I know that there's ambition, because to me particularly, and I think a lot of women don't want to say it out loud, is that is attractive. I want you to feel ambitious and always want more, whether you get there or not. I want you to have that drive. What makes you happy? What brings you joy? Where do I fit into that? Like, where's the complement, the abundance of that? Because then you're more than likely to have that person hype you up in your abundance. So I can't speak for everybody, but like, I think for the small amount of women that I have met, it's security, but not so much to be taken care of, but to know that like, if needed, like I feel safe that I can trust you to lead us and not lead us to the ground, because let's be realistic, some people are just not there. I think it's unrealistic to say that you should be with somebody that, you know, might still be in school. Is it realistic that people are like that? Yes, absolutely. But I don't feel like overall that's what you should be looking for. You should find somebody that matches your energy and your time, and you shouldn't apologize for it, because ultimately then I feel like then we're settling for the bare minimum and expecting the maximum. And neither one is realistic. Neither one is wrong. They're just not right for each other.
I heard both of you mention this in various ways when you were talking. So I'm just going to make it a statement and then see how you feel on it. Um, I'm how do you feel about people having self-awareness, accountability, personal responsibility? Is that needed in relationships?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe so. And I will be honest that I used to be all about like, you know, my independence and where I'm at. But the reality is if someone is just as grounded, they're going to call you on when you're like at your low point. You can't have your 80, you know, that whole 80-20 concept. If you really rely on that, why would I want to have somebody that can't even manage their 20 to run my 80 when needed? You know, does that make sense? Why would I put so much responsibility on them and then be upset because they're in shambles because they can't even manage themselves at like, you know, even a peak of where they're at. So I just feel like we put so much responsibility on our partners, and that's on both ends. I've seen it on both ends. And then we get so upset when really you're granting such a responsibility. You know, you get people that go into situationships and relationships and everything was on the table. You just convince yourself of otherwise. Again, neither party is awful. Neither party doesn't work. It just doesn't work for each other. And and us ignoring that creates these other situations of like, you know, now you're upset that you can't lead us. Well, you can't even lead yourself. And I don't mean that to be, you know, rude. It's like, you can't. And now it's like, you need to hype up the people. We need to hype up our men and women. I tell my partner all the time, you know, I just got a relationship. I said, I want you to prioritize you, because I can't expect you to prioritize us if you don't feel in control. Now, I'm not saying I want you to be perfect. I don't want you to say, hey, I'm healed. You know, I want to be a part of that journey as well in that story, but I can't be there if like you're already just like in shambles, and for me to like give you the key to like, you know, to guide us. And it's the first person that has told me straight up before I even asked them like, hey, I'm still working on this, and I just want to put that on the table. And I was so appreciative. It was such a breath of fresh air for someone to just say that, because I could never hold them to say that he was out there pretending to be all together. He put it all on the table. Wow. And I had the conscious choice of being like, do I want to proceed forward? That was my choice.
That's beautiful. Rob, what about you? What are your thoughts about that?
All right. So I'm going to tackle it from two fronts. I'm going to start with the accountability, just because I think it's very important to know and understand work and where they fit within society in your life. So people tend to think words like accountability and like acquaintances, all those are negatives, and they're not. Like they think it's just going to ruin friendships and relationships if you take accountability. So I take accountability for a lot of stuff, you know, even some stuff that I probably shouldn't take accountability for. I know that if I just go ahead and assume the role and take that part, then it allows the other person to go ahead and either make a shift to better themselves or just continue going down the rabbit hole that they're going down. I don't think there's anything wrong with the word accountability. So, like, everybody that's listening, you go ahead and just take accountability no matter what. Like, just listen to the other person. That's what most people don't do either. But they don't listen. Most people are always listening to talk, which is why, like, when I sit back and I listen to people, I'll just sit back and listen, because they have a lot to say, and I'll register every bit of movement, all the words that they're using. As a matter of fact, I'm so good at it. Like, my old managers hated me for it. Like, I used to work at this job where my old managers hated the fact that I took their words and used it against them because, like, what they were telling me didn't make sense.
Right.
You know, so with that said, accountability is not an evil word, ladies and gentlemen. You just got to go ahead and know what part you played in whatever disagreement that took place. So, and listen to the other person. You know what I'm saying? There's no disagreement or argument with one person. No one's arguing with themselves on a regular basis. You're either arguing with someone else or a group of other people. So you play a role in that argument.
Right.
Period.
Do you guys feel that most people lack basic communication skills? Like you just mentioned, active listening. Do you guys feel like that is a big issue in relationships?
Yes. Largely just because, like, in the beginning, it's all about the roller coaster ride. Like, you're going up and you're anticipating the dip down, and you're like, oh, everything's cool. And then, like, you get to the end of the ride, and then you just go peruse the park, and you get comfortable that you don't communicate like you did when you were at the beginning of the ride. You're not as loud and vibrant as you were going down the first hill and around the corners and the loopy-loops. So you get into a comfortable state of frame. And I think communication is important. Like, and communication is important in the sense of, like, not who can be the loudest. Like, being loud does not necessarily make you the right person in the disagreement. It just makes you loud. If you just sit down and and I used to tell people, I never had argument in any of my relationships. Like, I always had disagreements. We sit down and we just discuss my point of view, their point of view, and then we meet in the middle of understanding.
I think it's people's personal responsibility to get therapy because, like, I think that's amazing that with you and your past partners, you were able to actually sit down, have disagreements, and talk it out. Most couples we see don't do that, right? They're like yelling, screaming, or debasing each other, or worse, right? Worse, going to social media and airing their problems out on social media. So, how do you guys feel about people that are single watching this live and want to be in a relationship? And they're aware, I may not be the best person, but I swear it's them. All my exes are narcissists, all of them. They're all narcissists. And I just keep picking the narcissists. It's not me, it's them. Melbell, what would you say to people that have that feeling?
There is this, it'll come to me another time, but there was this article that I read that when you're in those, lack of your role, of accountability for your role in situations, and I will say mine included. I don't think I've ever called anybody that was a narcissist. I did have somebody condone their behavior by calling themselves one. And I'm like, most narcissists don't even know that they are.
Right. Very good point.
That was a new one for me, though. Like, you called yourself a narcissist to validate your behavior.
That's awesome.
That was a new one. I was winning, right?
Yeah.
So, that being said, I think it's when we say things out loud. I think when we share the story out loud, we can, at least for me, I can only speak for myself. I was able to have a perspective of like, wow, that didn't sound right. Because when you share that story, I've even told people, may I suggest to you that you share it like I'm asking for a friend approach of like, Don't even put yourself in the equation. See how people react to that. And because you're not speaking about yourself, be wholeheartedly, like completely honest. Because if you're honest with yourself, you're going to see that we all have, so to speak, narcissistic approaches. We live in a world where if we don't get, I've met people that are like, I want us to be together. I'm going to convince you. And then they don't. All of a sudden, they're a narcissist. They're gaslighting, millions of things. More importantly, when we're talking about communication being important, I think that's valid. But for me, the word that comes to mind to make relationships successful and at peace is transparency. It's transparency on both ends, because when you are transparent and you allow such a space for someone to be transparent with you, they're sharing an overflow and showing you who they are with such ease. Communication doesn't even become an issue. Right. And I've seen this both ends. When you're just like, I want to hear you. We become so, I think as humans, we become so semi-selfish of like, I mean, with my friends, I try to keep conscious. Like I had a conversation today with my sister, and like, even like, I've spent the last 2 days like resetting myself emotionally. Allow me a moment to ask you, like, how are you doing? Let me read the room emotionally where I'm at, to see like if you even want to deal with this, right? And I know that she's there, right? But my point is, when you bring such a transparency of ease, of like, I feel safe telling you that like I want to put my hair down, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, and someone putting you in that state, even the sadness is not a bad thing. It's you're sharing, you're being vulnerable, you're sharing a different form of intimacy with, whether it's your person or your friends, because that person made you feel so safe to have that. And therefore there's more communication, and it's not so much of an issue of lack of communication. So like when people say, what's the most important thing for you? Like, yeah, communication's great, honesty, great, love, great. But I think the core of that for me, the big bubble, so to speak, that connects all of those things is transparency. Because that is ultimately going to be like, where do I want to be soft, right? I can find you attractive, but do I really feel safe? Do I feel comfortable to put my hair down? Do I feel comfortable, like Rob was saying, coming out of the interview section of the relationship, of the bliss, the happiness? If I'm like a week in and I already feel comfortable just putting my joggers on and just being a complete mess, and I'm just so uncomfortable, like my person should feel so honored, because I feel so safe and transparent that I no longer feel like, yes, I want to look good for you. I want to feel and look beautiful for you and myself, because, it's just honestly really silly when people are like, oh, you're doing it for someone. No, I'm like, you want to fulfill your person. That's the part of keeping the spark and the intimacy growing. However, I also want to be able to feel soft. I want to be able to just be like, I just want to be in a t-shirt. Today, I just want to cry. I don't know why I want to cry. But for someone to even like make you feel so safe in that and be like, I just want to hold you in that. And I'm not going to lie, I just more recently experienced that. So I will be completely honest with you. It's brand new. It's still very overwhelming. But it's brought a different part of the healing to answer that question, that I think all of those things are great, but it has to be a transparency. You have to feel safe with all these people. That's where the exception to the rule, and we're all an exception to someone's rule. So when people are like, oh, you put your guard down, no, it's not. It has to do with that person. That person motivates you. They inspire you to like get out of your realm. You might be this person that's consistently flirtatious. Now you're becoming conscious of who you're talking to, how you respond to them. How do you, like, that cute girl, that cute guy talks to you as a live streamer. Hey, how you doing? You know that they trust you, right? And you know that you're not going anywhere, but become conscious, because the transparency, that love, that genuine connection comes to part. And now you're in fear of like, I want to validate this person on all aspects, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. And it actually brings me to a question that I have, that I've been asking a lot of people about. And what you're talking about, transparency, goes hand in hand with, to me, love, right? And especially unconditional love. that somebody can give you this unconditional love to the point where you feel so safe you can be transparent. But what about boundaries? What do you say to people who say you're supposed to have boundaries in relationships, but doesn't boundaries counter unconditional love?
Oh, to my go. All right.
Oh, to anyone.
All right. Let's go ahead and just take away the fairy tales and the stories. I know we all have our favorite TV shows, our favorite movies, but that's just what they are. They are TV shows, they're movies. They're meant to entertain. They're an exaggeration of life. So to say that you don't have any conditions in life or in relationships in general means that you don't have any conditions in life. Like you're living life unconditionally. If you're living life unconditionally, go park your car and leave your doors open.
What?
Go leave. You know, like do. I mean, if you feel like you are living life unconditionally, like no work, like I would do anything without zero conditions. I'm just gonna give my all to this person, whatnot. That to me, and this me personally, means that you are living your life in a sense where you're so free that you can just leave your house doors open. You can leave your car doors open. You can just sit your wallet on the table.
It.
Everybody has conditions.
Drink it out.
You wouldn't do any of those things, so therefore you wouldn't want people to do certain things in your relationship. Like, you know, like you wouldn't want nobody cheating on you. So
right.
That's a condition.
Right.
I don't want you to be stepping out of this relationship. Unconditional love would be like, oh, feel free to do whatever you want. You want to go date those two people over there? Do it.
So the majority of
now,
people... the majority
and that's
of
not
people...
to knock anybody that's not to knock anybody that's doing polyamorous relationships, like, but that's something that you discuss with your partner. Something you discuss with your partner, and then you have an understanding about who you can step out of the relationship with. Everyone has conditions. There's no such thing as unconditional.
Gotcha.
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. I'm trying to word this the best way that I can. So I feel like unconditional love can absolutely exist. However, I feel that when we're being transparent, and the boundaries, you said, can they coexist, to have boundaries and to have unconditional love? Absolutely, because I think initially, if you're a grounded person, you're going into the relationship or whatever set connection with your boundaries up. Hence, here comes transparency and safety net and all the safeness, right? I feel soft. I'm going to put my guard down. I'm going to peek around. You know, I feel safe. Not necessarily dropping my boundary, because if you're grounded enough, you've already set the foundation of like, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. And I know that because for the first time I was able to word, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. Even if I shook inside at the risk of losing this person if they didn't agree with it. But then comes in not necessarily me putting down my boundary, but then that space being created with transparency and being like, I feel so safe and unconditional. I don't feel like anything that I say, even uncomfortable, whether they agree or not. See, people consider when you love somebody unconditional that you agree with all stance, including the negative. Unconditional is to love you beyond that, in spite of that, and to be so transparent in communication, in your unconditional love, that I love you in spite of all of those layers.
Wow.
People misconstrue, and I've seen it from experience, when they say you love me unconditionally, is for you to put up with every shenanigan, everything that you wouldn't want for yourself, every little bad thing. And they connect it to loyalty, which is a whole completely different reaction in a relationship standpoint. To love unconditionally, whether romantic or friend-wise or family, is to love beyond that. It doesn't matter what the story is. So to say that a boundary doesn't exist, that person understands your boundary. There's no threat to break it. Like, I don't want you out of your shell. I want you to be there because I'm offering you the transparency till you come out of it. And in spite of that, I'm going to love you conditionally all around. Does that make sense?
It does. It's beautiful.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may.
Go ahead.
I don't disagree with the, like, you gave me something to think about, like the unconditional love aspect of loving someone beyond the negative and in spite of all the stuff that you go through. I think for me personally, the way I look at it, and I would agree with that statement, but so many people throw out words willy-nilly. People throwing out the word narcissist. Like, narcissist
Right.
is so thrown out all the
All
time
the
that
time.
like it's become just a trend buzzword.
Yes.
It's not even like supposed to be actually meant to be. So like when you think about unconditional love and loving past that, and I will agree with that, but I still agree that like everyone has conditions. Like I haven't come across anybody that has an unconditional love of another person. You know, their love has conditions. So,
Right.
and the reason why I say that is because I used to be a person who would be like, if you are with your significant other for 10 plus years, you're locked in solid. Until like one of my old coworkers let me know that she was married for 27 years before getting a divorce. And I was like, well, that throws that whole thing out of the water. And so everyone has the potential to be the best version of themselves. Everyone has the potential to be in an unconditional love scenario. Not everyone's going to get there. Very few people will actually get there, if any. You know, because we all have experiences, we all have pasts. A lot of us have trauma, and our choices are based on all of those things. Like, a lot of people that I know base their decisions on fear. It is greater for them than love, unconditional or otherwise. They make their choices based on what they fear is going to happen, what they fear is not going to happen.
Right.
And therefore, they make some of those fearful choices work out for them, but a lot of times it winds up being bad. So I say, for me, personally, you should know thyself. You should know thyself. And going back to the earlier question, I always tell people, when you're going to meet somebody, because we always had these conversations about coffee dates and like where you take people out in traditional yada yada. When you go meet somebody, and I told my sister this, I said, look, I go ahead and I do what I want to do on the date. I'm choosing the date. I don't know who this person is. Like, if it's my significant other, like I've been with them for a long time, I got to know the ins and outs of that person. I'm going ahead and not taking them on an experience that I know they enjoy. But like, if I just met Mel Bell and I don't know nothing about Mel Bell, how can I anticipate what Mel Bell likes? So I just take Mel Bell on the experience of things that I enjoy, and she enjoys it. Cool. If she does not, then she's not for me. Mm-hmm. Know thyself and go ahead and do the things that you enjoy, and the people that are meant to be in your life, whether they're romantic or friendship or otherwise, will gravitate towards you.
Wow. So much was said here tonight. So much was said here tonight. Like, I knew these two would be so good at this. I'm so glad I trust myself. And I knew you guys were gonna kill it. So much so, in fact, that we are coming down to the end where we have to end this show. But I will have these two speakers, Mel Bell and Rob, back on the 19th, Wednesday, February 19th. And I think I'm gonna do a part 2 to this, where we're gonna delve deeper into these questions about modern day relationships, and especially the question about soulmates and twin flames. Is that an outdated concept? Is that real? Because I really want to hear what they have to say about it. I want to give you guys a chance now to let people know how they can find you on social media, whether you want to share your IG handle, your TikTok, your Meet Me, your email, whatever it is that you want to do. So, who would like to go first? And you can also type it in the comments as well. There's two comments. There's the private chat, and then there's the comment section. So if you can find your way
sister,
over.
just for the record, let Uma state that I responded to you, but it was in the
private chat.
Yeah.
She did. She responded to you, Jemmy, but it was in the private chat. I was like, wrong chat. So I'll let Mel Bell go first, and Rob, if you want to start typing your stuff in the chat, so because this will stay up on YouTube and people can still find a way to follow you. So Mel Bell, let us know how people can get it. Oh, where did he go?
I don't know where he went. He'll be back. I am a streamer on Meet Me. You can usually find me in the evenings or on the weekends. You can find me every Wednesday night on The Great Debate with Uma, which is also a show that she does on Meet Me that also is full of great conversation. I'm usually there every day at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then moving forward from that, you can find me elsewhere. I'm all about just healing from the inside out, and always open to having discussions about what that approach is for other people, because I feel like it's always great to take different perspectives, and we don't have to run with all of them, but they for sure do play a role.
Awesome. And Rob, I don't know where Rob left, but Rob is also a streamer on Meet Me, and he's also on TikTok. Do you know his handle on TikTok?
I believe it's just Rob.
PBR?
So, see, my sister, I'm not a TikToker. My sister is. Is it Rob?
I think it's PB. Oh, there he goes. He's back.
PBR. I think it's PB Rob.
So, sorry, I started hitting buttons.
Oh, okay. Let us know how people can find you, Rob.
All right, so you can find me mainly on TikTok. I have a couple of shows on there on Tuesdays. I do a co-host show with my good friend Belly. She's a great chef on the platform. I just bring the humor. She does the dishes. And on Fridays, you can find me on TikTok as well. For Club Talk, we do DJ battles, we do dance-offs, and we got my squad has a group called Love Lines. So it's a dating show that they came up with about 6 or 7 weeks ago. So we actually got a Valentine's Day special one coming for next Friday. So be on the lookout for that.
I love that. I want you guys to just stay behind after the show so I can just chit chat with you for a little bit. But I really want to say thank you so much to everybody who's been showing up for the Wednesday Talks, Uma Talks, every Wednesday here on YouTube and on my podcast recorded at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week, I will be talking about silencing negative self-talk and the imposter syndrome. What is that about? So I'll be delving into that topic. I know a lot of us deal with negative self-talk.
When is this? Because I was literally just talking to my partner about this.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm obsessed. I'm like, we've been discussing imposter syndrome. So
yeah, next Wednesday, right here, Wednesday, February 12th, right here in the Lotus Lounge here on the app. On YouTube.